This girl seems absolutely perfect. Not only is she beautiful, she's also the top student in the entire school. She has several handsome admirers, loving parents, and a family background everyone envies. But no one knows that behind this perfect-looking family lies a shocking secret. The truth begins with a transfer student. One day, a new girl named Shuyan joins the class. After everyone finishes their introductions, Shuyan walks straight to Sun-hee's desk and asks if she still remembers her. Seeing Sun-hee's confused face, Shuyan looks disappointed. She returns to her seat and watches Sun-hee twist her hair up and secure it with a pen. That familiar gesture triggers something, almost like a memory that belongs only to the two of them. Sun-hee is the most admired girl in school, someone who seems to have everything. At home, her father is a famous lawyer who has won the Outstanding Talent Award 4 years in a row. At school, she's the top student, and two handsome boys constantly follow her around like devoted bodyguards. Sun-hee never imagined that her perfect life would soon be shattered by Shuyan. One day while Sun-hee is reading, Shuyan suddenly approaches, pulls the pen from Sun-hee's hair, then takes out a small matchbox and asks if Sun-hee remembers it. At the sight of the familiar matchbox, Sun-hee's memory drifts back more than 10 years. After losing her parents, young Sun-hee was sent to an orphanage where boys often bullied her. Until one night, Shuyan stepped in. She lit a match in front of the boys and told them the terrifying story of how her father killed her mother, scaring them away. Abandoned by her parents, Shuyan also lived in the orphanage. Two girls of similar age and similar misfortune quickly became best friends. Shuyan taught Sun-hee to twist her hair using a pen, read her fairy tales, and taught her how to strike a match to protect herself. Those comforting moments were wonderful. But good times never last. Eventually, Shuyan was about to be adopted. Before leaving, she gave Sun-hee her most precious matchbox. After that, Sun-hee was lonely again. Back to the present, they ask each other how life has been. But unlike their childhood, Shuyan reveals she still lives with the girls from the orphanage because she was injured years ago and couldn't be adopted. Instead, the one adopted after that incident was Sun-hee. Thanks to her adoption, Sun-hee became one of the lucky few living a near-perfect life. As Shuyan compares their lives, regret fills her voice. Seeing her sadness, Sun-hee holds Shuyan's hand, promising to help her old friend find happiness again. Shuyan notices the swan pendant on her bag and asks if she can have it as a symbol of their renewed friendship. Sun-hee doesn't really want to give it away, but Shuyan's pleading eyes leave her no choice. Later that night, during dinner, Sun-hee seems distracted as she keeps thinking about Shuyan. Back in her room, she considers calling her but decides not to. Instead, she seeks advice from her father, the lawyer. Sun-hee admits she wants to be friends with Shuyan, but every time they're together, she feels uneasy, unlike with her other friends. Shuyan always seems to be hiding something, making Sun-hee unsure of what she's thinking. Her father suggests she write Shuyan a letter to express the things she can't say out loud, but Sun-hee still doesn't know how to start. Meanwhile, Shuyan's life is far from easy. The shop where she worked suddenly ran off with all the money, not even paying her last month's salary. She needs money for school supplies, so she asks Sun-hee to lend her some. But Sun-hee has headphones on and doesn't hear her clearly. Thinking Sun-hee is ignoring her on purpose, Shuyan loses her temper and repeats the request loudly, almost yelling. Sun-hee, startled, agrees to bring the money the next day. That night, Shuyan calculates her expenses and complains to her dorm roommates that private schools are too expensive. One of the girls reminds her that Shuyan only transferred because she knew Sun-hee attended this school. But now she worries that Sun-hee seems uncomfortable around her, as if their friendship remains stuck in childhood. Yet she remembers clearly, back then, Sun-hee was her only friend. The next day, the boy Kim Ho gives Shuyan some money and warns her not to bully Sun-hee again. He saw Shuyan ask Sun Hee for money the previous day. Kim Ho is one of Sun Hee's closest friends and one of her many admirers. The swan pendant Sun Hee gave away was actually his birthday gift to her. Feeling insulted, Shuyan kicks Kim Ho, throws the money back, and loudly asks Sun Hee in front of everyone, "Do I look like a beggar to you?" After school, Shuyan is still upset when she sees Sun Hee's mother pick her up, with Kim Ho also getting into the car. The sharp contrast between their lives makes Shuyan feel even more miserable. Two girls from class approach her, jealous of perfect Sun Hee. They invite Shuyan to join them in bullying her and offer friendship, but Shuyan rejects them immediately. The next day, Kim Ho apologizes to Shuyan for his behavior. Looking at this nearly perfect boy, Shuyan's heart flutters a bit. Later, Sun Hee also apologizes for the money incident and invites Shuyan to hang out. Shuyan then learns that Kim Ho apologized because Sun Hee asked him to. Hearing this disappoints her even more. In the afternoon, Shuyan visits another boy, Sean Yu, also one of Sun Hee's closest friends, and another admirer. But unlike Kim Ho, Sean Yu hides his feelings because his family runs a laundry shop and he feels inferior. Shuyan encourages him, saying children don't get to choose their parents. And compared to someone like her who grew up in an orphanage, Sean Yu is actually much better off. That night, after Sun Hee leaves cram school, Shuyan pulls her aside, saying she has something to reveal. In a quiet corner, Shuyan removes her wig, exposing the burn scars covering half of her head. The cost of treating those burns was extremely high. That's why she was never adopted. Sun Hee is shocked and frightened. Shuyan then steps closer and reveals the truth. Her burn scars were all Sun Hee's fault. The night before Shuyan was supposed to be adopted, young Sun Hee, terrified of losing her only friend, secretly lit one of the matches Shuyan had given her. But the match triggered a huge fire that burned down the entire orphanage. Shuyan was trapped and severely burned, while fate smiled on Sun Hee. As Shuyan lay in the hospital, Sun Hee was adopted, leading to the charmed life she has now. While Shuyan was hospitalized for her burns, her best friend Sun Hee became the lucky child chosen for adoption. In contrast, Shuyan was abandoned by the couple who had originally planned to adopt her. After she was discharged, a local counselor held a charity event for disaster-affected children and gave Shuyan a wig. When no one was around, the young Shuyan angrily tore off the wig, threw it to the ground, and stomped on it. She hated it. Moments later, she picked it up again and began to cry helplessly. From that moment on, her life was filled with nothing but anger and despair, with no way to release it. You worry about me? So tell me, what happened to your happy days, your perfect life, your happiness, the kind of happiness I can't even imagine? Hearing Shuyan's tragic past, Sun Hee burst into tears, apologizing over and over again. But now, apologies were meaningless. Shuyan put her wig back on and said that since Sun Hee owed her, she would have to repay her slowly. That night, Sun Hee couldn't sleep, haunted by Shuyan's suffering. Remembering her father's advice about writing a letter, she got up to put her unspoken feelings into words. The next morning, Shuyan found Sun Hee's letter under her desk. In the letter, Sun Hee explained she never knew Shuyan had been burned. She thought Shuyan had been successfully adopted just like she was. Sun Hee promised to make it up to Shuyan for the rest of her life and hoped they could return to being best friends again. Just as Shuyan finished reading, two girls walked over, mocking her and asking what secret she shared with Sun Hee the previous day. They were curious about what explosive past the two might have. But Shuyan wasn't someone they could bully. She taught the girls a harsh lesson and warned them never to bully Sun Hee, or she wouldn't let them go. Indeed, she had been touched by Sun Hee's sincere letter. After school, she softly called out to Sun Hee and thanked her for writing it. Sun Hee smiled gently, hopeful that their friendship could truly begin again. On the way home, the two girls Shuyan scolded earlier gathered several boys and ambushed her in revenge. Just when Shuyan was overwhelmed, Kim Ho appeared, almost like fate, and fought off the attackers. Seon Yu was there too. When the boys fled and police sirens sounded, Kim Ho grabbed Shuyan's hand and rushed her away. Her heart fluttered again. Since they were worried she might be unsafe on her own, the two boys quietly followed her home to protect her. At her doorstep, Shuyan looked down at the swan pendant in her palm, Kim Ho's birthday gift to Sun Hee. Realizing that Kim Ho liked Sun Hee, she clenched her fist in frustration. The next day, Sun Hee and Kim Ho took photos with his new phone. Seon Yu insisted on taking photos with Sun Hee too, but Kim Ho jokingly refused. Shuyan walked over and offered to take a group photo for all three. Afterwards, Shuyan wanted a picture with Kim Ho as well, but innocent Sun Hee didn't understand and ended up posing for the picture too, ruining Shuyan's moment. That evening, Sun Hee invited Shuyan home for dinner. Seeing Sun Hee's wealthy home and warm parents, Shuyan was overwhelmed with envy. Sun Hee wanted her to stay the night, but Shuyan simply thanked her and left quickly. Everything Sun Hee had was something Shuyan desperately wanted but could never reach. The next day at school, Shuyan overheard Kim Ho and Seon Yu talking. Kim Ho planned to confess to Sun Hee. Seon Yu mentioned Shuyan, thinking Kim Ho was flirting with her. Kim Ho immediately denied it, saying the only girl he liked was Sun Hee, and he didn't care at all what Shuyan thought of him. Hearing this, Shuyan was furious. Back in class, she stormed up to Sun Hee and told her that if Kim Ho tried to talk to her that day, she must not listen. Confused, Sun Hee asked why, but Shuyan shouted again, "Did you hear me? If you listen to him, I'll end our friendship." After school, Kim Ho did chase after Sun Hee, wanting to talk privately. Remembering Shuyan's warning, Sun Hee panicked, lied, and ran off. Near home, she invited Shuyan to dinner again, but this time Shuyan refused outright. Back home, Sun Hee suddenly remembered she hadn't given Shuyan her cram school workbook, so she hurried out and saw Shuyan walking into Kim Ho's house. Inside, Kim Ho had decorated the living room with balloons and rose petals for his confession to Sun Hee. Seeing this, Shuyan grew jealous and told him to stop because it would fail anyway. Sun Hee waited outside for Shuyan, but she never came out. Just as Shuyan was about to leave, she heard Shuyan scream from inside. Worried, Sun Hee rushed in and saw Shuyan's wig on the floor, as if she had been fighting with Kim Ho. When she saw Sun Hee, Shuyan became emotional, shouting that Sun Hee had promised not to talk to Kim Ho. Consumed with anger, Shuyan grabbed a knife, blaming Sun Hee for ruining her life. She charged towards Sun Hee. At the critical moment, Kim Ho jumped in front of Sun Hee, taking the stab meant for her. He collapsed to the floor, a tragedy beginning right there. Covered in blood, Sun Hee stumbled home in shock. Seeing her daughter drenched in blood, her mother panicked. Sun Hee, trembling, confessed that she had killed Kim Ho, but did not mention Shuyan. Her mother remained strangely calm and began asking detailed questions about the crime scene, what weapon was used, where the body was, and so on. Sun Hee remembered she had left her phone and workbook at Kim Ho's house. She decided to turn herself in, but her mother refused. She calmed Sun Hee down and told her to leave everything to her. The first thing her mother did was tell Sun Hee to shower and change clothes. While she was bathing, her mother mixed sleeping pills into a cup of milk and made Sun Hee drink it. After Sun Hee fell asleep, her mother said she was going to check whether Kim Ho was still alive. When Sun Hee again mentioned turning herself in, her mother warned, "If you want me to become your accomplice, then go ahead." Frightened by her mother's words, Sun Hee gave up the idea. The next morning, Sun Hee woke up groggy and saw her phone and workbook neatly placed on her desk, items she had left at Kim Ho's house. When she walked outside, her mother was cooking and her father was helping, everything seemingly normal. For a moment, Sun Hee wondered if last night had just been a nightmare. But then the news reported that Kim Ho's house had burned down overnight. His entire family died in their sleep. As she stared at the flames on TV and then at her calm parents, she realized
Her parents must have covered up Kim Ho's death. The next day, the police investigated the fire and found the origin in Kim Ho's room, possibly caused by his painter father's paint thinner. But then, the officer spotted Shuyan in the crowd. Panicked, she met the officer's eyes and immediately ran. Suspicious of arson, the police decided to investigate the people closest to Kim Ho. Shuyan frantically called Sun-hee, but Sun-hee didn't answer. She called more than 30 times. Meanwhile, Sun-hee hid in her room, overwhelmed by fear and guilt over Kim Ho's death. The tragedy had already begun. No one knew what Sun-hee would do next.
The following day, a nervous Shuyan came to Sun-hee's home. She had also noticed the fire at Kim Ho's house and suspected Sun-hee's involvement. Sun-hee, panicking, remained silent. Shuyan reminded her of their agreement, that Sun-hee would be the one to take the blame for Kim Ho's death. When Sun-hee still didn't respond, Shuyan removed her wig, exposing the burned half of her head, and grabbed Sun-hee with frantic eyes. To her, this debt was something Sun-hee owed her from long ago. But she demanded even more. Shuyan insisted that Sun-hee turn herself in on her behalf. She believed that with Sun-hee's father being a lawyer, he would be able to take care of any legal trouble afterward. Sun-hee refused through tears, afraid that her mother would be disappointed in her. Enraged, Shuyan accused Sun-hee of being shameless, stealing everything from her and still wanting more. Then, she threatened to report Sun-hee to the police. As Shuyan opened the door, Sun-hee's father was standing outside. With an overly warm smile, he asked where the two girls were going and even offered to drive them. Shuyan hurriedly declined and left. Walking past the police station, she hesitated. She pulled the swan pendant from her pocket, and her mind was dragged back to the day of the incident. That day, Shuyan arrived at Kim Ho's house only to see him decorating for a surprise party. He planned to confess his feelings to Sun-hee. He even asked Shuyan to help message Sun-hee so she'd come to his house after cram school. Shuyan, who secretly liked Kim Ho, was consumed by jealousy. She took out the swan pendant and claimed Sun-hee gave it to her because she didn't want it. She even lied, saying Sun-hee told her she didn't like Kim Ho. But Kim Ho simply smiled, confident that Sun-hee would never say such things. He assumed Shuyan had either stolen or picked up the pendant and demanded she return it. When she refused, he kept stepping closer, forcing her to give it back while accusing her of bullying Sun-hee. The comparison between their lives, Sun-hee's privilege and her own suffering, filled Shuyan with frustration. Why is it that I can't have anything? Tears streaming down her face, she began destroying the decorations he had carefully set up. Kim Ho tried to stop her, but in the struggle, Shuyan's wig fell to the floor. He saw the true condition she always tried to hide. Her pride shattered instantly. Embarrassed and trembling, she crawled on the floor to retrieve her wig. Then she grabbed a knife from the kitchen counter. She no longer wanted to endure such a miserable life. Kim Ho desperately tried to stop her. At that moment, Sun-hee, who had heard the noises outside, rushed in. Seeing her friend, Shuyan's anger shifted entirely towards Sun-hee. She blamed her for everything, for ruining her life. Thinking back to that night, Shuyan stared at the swan pendant in her hand and reconsidered reporting to the police. Just then, a black car quietly began following her. It pulled over, and when Shuyan recognized the person inside, she got in. Later that night, she woke up in the car, only for the person beside her to attack her with a hammer. Blood poured from her head. While her attacker rummaged through the trunk, she seized the chance and escaped. Meanwhile, Sun-hee questioned her mother about the fire at Kim Ho's house. She had left her phone and cram school workbook at his home the night before. Yet when she woke up, both items were neatly placed on her desk. But her mother, with an unsettling expression, insisted she knew nothing about what happened at the house. Thinking of her memories with Kim Ho, Sun-hee felt grief and guilt. After searching online for the news of the fire, she broke down in tears. If only none of this had happened. She remembered their time together, how Kim Ho's father, a well-known painter, was strict about his son's art. When Kim Ho doubted himself, it was Soon Hee's encouragement that helped him stay true to his own path. Once the two of them drew portraits of each other in class. Kim Ho cherished the portrait Soon Hee gave him. Her kindness and encouragement gave him confidence and made him want to confess to her. The next day, Seon-yu came to take Soon Hee to Kim Ho's funeral. Seeing Kim Ho's photo, she became so overwhelmed that she collapsed. Seon-yu took care of her until her lawyer father arrived. Her father thanked Seon-yu and then took Soon Hee home. In the car, he comforted her gently, saying time heals all things and that eventually everything would be forgotten. He promised that he and her mother would help her through this difficult time. Calmed by his reassurance, Soon Hee felt slightly better. But when they arrived home, 2 police officers were waiting at their door. Her father told her to stay in the car while he went to speak to them. As she avoided the officer's line of sight, Soon Hee noticed something in the car, the swan pendant she had given Shu-yan. A wave of dread washed over her. Her father welcomed the officers inside. They asked Soon Hee about Kim Ho, but she said she didn't know anything. They also mentioned they couldn't reach Shu-yan. Hearing that, Soon Hee instinctively glanced at her father, rubbing her hands anxiously. Trying to hide her fear, she lied. She didn't tell them that Shu-yan had visited her house before disappearing. After the police left, her father praised her for staying calm and not mentioning Shu-yan's visit. He placed a gentle hand on her shoulder and told her not to worry. No matter what, he would always stand by her. Terrified, Soon Hee shrank away and returned to her room. Her father watched her leave, his expression turning dark and unreadable. In her room, Soon Hee saw all the unanswered messages she had sent Shu-yan. She called her again, still no response. Looking at the family photos on her wall, fear grew inside her. To prevent her worst suspicions from becoming a reality, she rushed to contact Seon-yu for Shu-yan's address. When she arrived, Shu-yan's roommate told her that Shu-yan hadn't come home for several days. That night, Soon Hee replayed the memory of Shu-yan's last visit. After that day, Shu-yan disappeared, and now her pendant was inside her father's car. Fear consumed her. Just then, a man approached her. He claimed to be one of her father's relatives and said he had seen her when she was little. Before leaving, he whispered mysteriously into her ear, "Be careful of your parents." Shocked, Soon Hee froze in place. Upstairs, her father stood by the window, watching the man leave with a grim, tense expression. Elsewhere, Detective Shin, who had previously visited Soon Hee's home, insisted that Kim Ho's death was suspicious. His superior scolded him for relying too much on intuition. At that moment, the forensic report came back. Kim Ho did not die in the fire, he was killed by a knife. Combined with Soon Hee's unusual behavior during questioning, Detective Shin became certain that the fire had been deliberately set by the real killer. That is it for today. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. I will be back with the rest of the story soon.